Well, come on in, everyone. Today is a special edition of our Wednesday walkabout. It's what I'm going to call the QVC edition. We have been frantically trying to determine what is going to be available on my show on Thursday and what is really been subject to material shortages and shipping issues. And anybody who has ordered a refrigerator or a piece of furniture lately knows what I'm talking about. So I finally know what's going to be on and what products will have to be deferred until sometime down the line because we just simply couldn't get enough inventory in to make them available. So I'm excited about it, and as always, I'm going to ask you guys for your help and your support. I think it would be a real kick if some of you called in because I just love conversing with you in the comment section. Some of you send me emails. It's just really a wonderful community that we have here, and I would love to hear some of your voices. If you call in, I would get such a kick out of that, especially if you kind of identify yourself to me. So I'm going to show you some of those products, what's available, but more importantly, I want to give you a little bit of an update because the garden has just exploded in the past week. We have gotten lots of rain. It has been, the temperatures have actually been nice, kind of cool, but there's been enough heat to make stuff pop out, both foliar, it's putting out lots of leafy foliage and also just some huge blossoms. So I want to start out on my back porch that I finally got around to staging because I was in denial about some of the plants, some of my topiary that were here, and whether or not they had bit the dust in that most recent Arctic front we had. I think I lost 2 or 3 here, maybe more. The ones that I lost, I replaced with some Utopia Plum U's from Southern Living Plants because this is a very shady location, as you guys know. Interestingly, I have a couple of triple tier topiaries here and here that look very much alive, but I think they may also be dead and they're just not showing me yet. They have not put on any new growth whatsoever. They look very much alive, but I think in actuality they may be kind of freeze-dried and preserved. So I will be watching them and keeping my fingers crossed that I don't have to replace them. I also have been tending a lot of my myrtle topiaries. I'll put a link below to where I get my myrtle topiaries from Passiflora Kalamazoo, and I realize I haven't done any YouTubes on topiary lately, but I will, I promise. I have to say that they came out of this winter better than ever before, and I think it's because I had them in a different location. So they looked pretty good when I first put them out, and they will only continue to improve in appearance as time goes by. So hopefully you'll look forward to some topiary video and topiary updates in the future. I also had to replace an Angiostar Phoshedra. This is a Southern Living plant. I actually put a couple of them in. This is a very shady location. I used to have one in here that was very tall. I missed that height to hide my utility boxes, and so I went back with that same plant. And down here, this was something I just thought I would try, and it's actually worked out pretty well. I just dug up some of those rambunctious hellebores that were in the front yard, and I planted some of them in here in this very shady location, and you can see there's all sorts of babies at the base, and so it was really kind of fun. You can even see right there, there's a seed right there that one of the flowers dropped. So I will be scooping up those seeds and putting them in the flower beds. So this whole area has shaped up nicely. I removed one of my thrift store finds that I had at another location, and I put it in here to use as a shepherd's hook for a lantern. And I think that the whole tableau looks pretty nice, and I feel a sense of accomplishment and a sense of order finally that I'm able to get some stuff looking the way I want it to look for the totality of the whole landscape. Okay, here is one of those things you guys should get a kick out of. Many of you over the years, it's probably the most requested thing in my garden, wanting to know where I got this old grate. And it was inspired by a picture that I saw from a Scandinavian garden in the woods, I don't know how many years ago. I actually found this one on eBay, and I've had it for years. Many of you have commented on it. It's been in the bistro area, and we have replicated it, interestingly, at the same price that I bought mine off of eBay, and it's going to come in 3 different finishes. So this is the copper, which I'm really in love with the copper right now. It also comes in black, and it will come in a galvanized metal. Now, this is what's kind of fun about it. We made the saucer a little bit bigger, you guys. Obviously, it makes an incredible plant stand this time of year. And I think it just really screams for a fern. I think that looks absolutely beautiful, would look great on a porch or whatever. But look at this. This is what I love about it, and something that we took into account in the design. It comes in 3 different pieces, so you can separate them. You can use this as just a basket, and then you can use this as just a plant stand if you like. You can, of course, secure it in place, but look at this, you guys. If you want to, you can even turn it into a small side table, either this way as a serving tray or like this for 2 different looks. I think it's really great. I've talked to you guys in the past that I want to have a baguette party, and this is going to be front and center for my huge groaning table. I'm going to use the tray itself for all sorts of ingredients for the baguette sandwiches. Then I'm going to put huge loaves of baguettes in here. I may keep this on the stand or not, but this is one of the things in my collection. I think it will be the very first thing that we show. So I love it, and I'm so glad that finally, after all of these years, we've been able to make this available to you guys. I can think of a million different ways to use it. Store your firewood in it, put it next to your fireplace or your outdoor fire pit. I think it's going to be really wonderful. So let's move on. All of the geraniums have just loved these cooler temperatures, cooler rainy temperatures. You can see that my Eugenia topiaries are starting to come out. They were very slow. Some of them in the greenhouse got a little bit distressed, but they have come out and they are loving this weather, as am I, and as are not just the pelargoniums, but also the scented geraniums, which are just blooming their sweet little heads off. And I have them absolutely everywhere in my landscape. And there is, oh, this is terrible. I think there's a store in Norman called The Greenhouse in Norman, but that is selling scented geraniums. And I will, of course, put a link to my friend Monica below where you can get her scented geraniums and you can contact her for a source. So this area you have seen before. I want to point out something, lest you think that my thrift store finds or my junky things that I have shown you in the past, that I don't reuse them. I do. So this broken pot that I told you had kind of an archaeological feel to it, and I loved its footed base. I planted some tiny little dianthus in it, and I think they look very sweet. More importantly, dianthus loves absolutely perfect drainage. So because there's a grade to this, any excess water will just drain right off. And I imagine in a matter of weeks, this will be completely filled out in totality, and it really won't make a difference if it's in bloom or not. I think it's going to be beautiful in any regard. So I really love that. And all of these, my little geranium theater looks very happy. Look at how much the hydrangeas have grown. Oh my gosh. They have really taken off. I'm not sure still how much of those in the background are going to bloom or not. I'm still patiently waiting. Everything seems to be off of its traditional time frame, and so I'm just being patient. But look at all of these blooms on Annabelle, and look how tall it is. Really incredible. And you can see in the background how the Nandina are finally leafing out. And these will be almost as tall as the fence, definitely by the end of summer, and certainly maybe in a few weeks. And then, oh my gosh, I don't think these will ever have bloomed this prolifically. Look at all of the oak leaf hydrangeas. I never have seen this many blooms, and with these cool temperatures, they just keep getting larger and larger. Absolutely spectacular. One of my favorite plants. If you didn't watch yet the video that we recently did on my favorite blooming shrubs, this was very much one of those top 5. And also, because you will ask, this is larkspur that all went to seed. And it goes to seed here every year. I let it. It comes back and really performs brilliantly. This too, this viburnum that I've showed you in the past, look at the number of blooms on it. Now the blooms are just, they're okay. They're not great. The foliage is gorgeous, but when these blooms turn into blueberries at the end of summer and in the fall, it is going to be, I think, just really brilliant. Okay, now back to my QVC line. So this was the thing that I most wanted. For myself, because I wanted weatherproof, waterproof baskets that I could use in the garden, that would not rot, that were flexible, that could be used in a myriad of different ways, that were waterproof at the bottom so they wouldn't rot out at the bottom. And these are just the ticket. They are, I think, just, I just can't speak highly enough of them. There are so many different ways that you can use them. They come in 4 different sizes, and you can see it was drizzling here, and you can see that these guys are wet and it won't make any difference at all. I was just thinking, Stuart and I recently went over to my friend Kamala Gamble's and we harvested a bunch of produce, and it just occurred to me, you know what would be really great to use these baskets for, one of the smaller sizes, is if you're harvesting your lettuce and you've just cut a great big bunch of them, you could put your lettuce in here, hose them down on your grass. All of that water will go into your turf. None of it will go down into the sewage, and that you can even leave it out here until some of that water evaporates, then bring it in the house. And it's just a really wonderful use of these baskets. So they come in different sizes, and they come in 3 different colors. There is gray. This is called whitewash if you've got that kind of farmhouse decor look. And they also come in what I am using primarily in my garden, and that is the natural wash. And of course, because I love everything after they get more mucked up, just like my pots, I take my dirty garden gloves and I am rubbing them all around the exterior and the perimeter of the basket itself, so that lots of that dirt falls into the cracks, and then they really look like real baskets. They're made of a polyrattan. They are lightweight, and look at this, you can use them like this. It'd be great for beach towels or carrying toys or sports equipment, and then they bounce right back, and you can leave them out. Would be great for pool toys. So that is one thing in the line. They are sold separately, so, and hopefully they'll be on QVC.com, so you guys might want to order these pretty early. I have a feeling that they will sell out pretty quickly. So to get your color choice, your preferred color choice, you might want to order them. Okay, something else that's going to be in my line. You know how I love to layer things and elevate things in the garden. So I'm also going to have plant stands that are in the collection, and they too will come in 3 different finishes. They'll come in black, they'll come in copper, and in galvanized. And like this one, so many different ways you can use them, not just for your potted plants, but I would use these in entertaining, because I love layering not only in my garden, but I love it on my table when I entertain. So you could put any kind of tray, large or small, on it. And what's nice about this size is that they pretty much will be perfect for any size basket you place on them. And they will support them really, really well and keep them off of the ground. Now again, you don't need to worry about that because they're waterproof on the bottom and the bottom won't rot out, but nevertheless, it really, I think, improves their stature and makes them look great. You may also notice that I had them put in different sized saucers inside of each basket. That way, if you want to use them inside for houseplants or whatever, it will protect whatever surface that you place them on. So those are two more things in my product line, the plant stands and the Kobo baskets. And in general, I know it's hard to decide sometimes what to buy and in what configurations. So here's how I think about it. I practically always buy things in either 2s or 3s. So if you have a real symmetrical landscape and you want to, say, frame 2 sides of a door or 2 sides of a gate, then you might want to get 2 of the same size. If you're getting these like as a gift, say they would make, I think, a great graduate present for a graduating senior to go away to college, because you could get them a set and they could use one for makeup or toiletries to take down to the communal bathroom. They could use another one to store a lot of their electronic devices and things under their beds. They could use another one as a laundry basket. So you could also get them as a set. But then another way I like to use things in the garden is I have spoken before about the power of 3 in the garden, and having 3 things staged rhythmically and repetitively up and down throughout the garden space. That makes it look really sophisticated and cohesive. So 3 of all the same size would be great, or the different graduated sizes running up and down the stairs. There's a million different ways that you could use them. So those are the Kobo baskets. Now let's get back to the garden. Here is another one of my Eugenias, you guys. This one was just nothing but sticks last time you looked at it, and it needs a little bit of pruning on it to get out some of the dead wood, but it is definitely filling out. And I would say within 2 weeks, this will be completely uniform, and I will have 3 strong balls all the way running up and down its stem. And here is that. Oh my gosh. Look at all of those flowers on the oak leaf hydrangea. And they're not even grown up yet. This is going to be a sea of complete white once all of these are fully in form and fully mature. I've never had this many, and I bet I never had this quantity and size. Who knows if they benefited a little bit from the cold winter. I'm not really sure. I've got some work to do in here. These are all also hydrangeas, mostly white wedding in this whole area that will bloom a little bit later after some of the other things are finished. And I've decided that I'm just letting some of my shrubbery that I love, I'm just letting it get even bigger. I'll do some judicious pruning on it to keep it away and not shading out some of the boxwood and the background plantings, but nevertheless, I think it looks really, really wonderful. I potted up some more lilies. I did a Brex video here not too long ago, and I'm going to show you that because I love Brex for lilies and dahlias. And here is the lone survivor, the biggest heartache, I think, that were obviously the trees, but I lost 2 of my huge Green Mountain boxwood standards that I have had for years and years. And this was the only one that remained, and I moved it back here. I relocated it so I'd have a little bit of height in this corner. Now all of the Nandina are coming back out, and I will recapture a lot of that verticality, but nevertheless, I'm sad about those that I lost, but I am very grateful for the one that survived. It will have extra special meaning to me. Disappointingly, something that will not be in the collection that I've already teased you about were the pots. We just couldn't get enough in inventory. And hopefully these will be available to you guys in the future. We didn't know till very recently that that we just wouldn't be able to get in an adequate supply. But nevertheless, this is what I'm talking about when you are framing something and you want to get a couple of things to frame an entryway and then elevate it. And I think it looks really beautiful. And these are that emerald amethyst agapanthus from Southern Living, and I'm kind of going on an agapanthus kick this year that I think will be fun and really beautiful. Before we go into the Protege for a little bit of an update, I want to show you how nicely all of these geraniums over here are doing. You may recall that I made over this corner, and all of this stuff is just exploding. I have one more thing I want to add to this corner. It's another hanging basket over here, and the hanging baskets will be part of my collection on QVC. I've got another small one. They come in 3 different sizes, and you can see where the large one is in the distance. And then I want to have another smaller version at a slightly higher level. Again, it's all about that layering and having things at different heights that I'll hang off of this branch. So, like I say, stuff just has really taken off. In fact, it's taken off so much that I think one of the next videos that I do is going to be, at this point then, how do you edit things out? Because I'm losing the value and the brilliance of negative space, so that every plant in and of itself has its own beautiful integrity in the garden, and I'm losing some of that negative space because stuff has fleshed out so heavily. And I think I need to do a video on recapturing the form of the plants through creating negative space. Back into the Protege now. I'm so excited because I think it's been so hard for me, because normally by now I have already pruned this boxwood hedge once or twice within an inch of its life and to perfection. But this year I really wanted to wait until all of it, the entire expanse of each section, flushed out in new growth before I pruned it for the first time. And it's almost to that point, and I can't wait. That and doing lots of pruning on my olive trees. You can see that the Bright Light Swiss chard is about to bolt, and I think I might have to cut some huge stalks of that and make a gorgeous flower arrangement out of it, because I like to use it in the vase as much as I like to use it in my kitchen. And the Protege area in general, I'm just waiting to really get finally styled until I can do that boxwood shearing, and I'm almost there. So the alliums are starting to lose their color, but they've still got the brilliant seed heads. These come back every year. This is Allium Ambassador for color blends. I know I've mentioned it before, but I continue to get lots of questions about it. And they do come back every year, and the trick to getting them to come back, you guys, is perfect drainage. So anytime I plant lily bulbs or allium bulbs, anything that says it wants good drainage, I add lots of grit to the planting hole, either builder sand or gravel or something that will not decompose over time and give them that perfect drainage that they require in my heavy soil so they don't rot out in place. Look at this guy. Isn't that absolutely beautiful? That's a poppy. Look at the buds and the seed heads, which are also very prized. This is a pepper box bread seed poppy, and some of them bloomed early on, very small, which they don't normally do. Again, it's our wacky weather. And others of them are blooming a little bit later. Not as many of them came into bloom as I expected, and some of them are blooming later. Usually this is completely filled up in tandem with the allium. But again, it's been a strange year. You can see the nasturtiums are coming into bloom, and I need to cut back some of the herbs in this one container in this half trough from Lowe's. I'll try to remember to put a link below. But pretty soon, a little bit more sun and cutting back some of that aggressive mint, and this should just be really wonderful. And an update. Finally, I got Roman chamomile to germinate and grow. I've grown the tall variety, which I believe is the German variety. I may have those two mixed up. But this one is the type that is just a low-growing, cushiony variety that you sometimes see in England, and they use it like to make a chamomile bench or something like that. I'm going to transplant it someplace. I'm not 100% sure where. And my pots of thyme have almost filled in completely. I just planted some Tithonia seeds in here. And there is just all sorts of work that I need to do back in here. And I will get to it, but I'm kind of holding off till I can do it in one fell swoop when I can prune the hedge. Here's something fun. Look at all of these olives on this olive tree. Now, I don't take the trouble of brining these and doing what you need to do to process them to make them edible, because for one thing, I like to leave them on there because I think they look so brilliant on the plant. And also because I just don't want to take the time and don't have the expertise to do that. Here's I believe this is, I can't remember if this is Christophe or Schuberti. I always get those two confused. I think this is Christophe. These are available from Color Blends. Look at this. When I say they have a galactic form, this is what I mean. Look at that. Definitely, it's got a very UFO vibe. And here's one of my baskets hanging here. You can see I've really dirtied this one up. And I love the fact, this one I keep just for my garden debris. I love the fact that I can keep it out here and hanging up, and it's weatherproof, waterproof, probably freeze-proof. I can keep it out here, and so when I do my weeding and picking up my garden debris, I can just dump it all in there. Don't even look at this part because it's a mess, but I'll show you one final thing. This is every year I love to try new things, and I think all of us should try something new every year. And one of my new things this year is garbanzo beans. And I was drawn to them because I loved the foliage. I just thought the foliage was so fun. You can see it's already got flowers on it. I got these at Bricks up the street. And I love the way they look on this latticework tower. And sadly, that was one of the things I had hoped we would be able to source for the collection, but it's been deferred. But keep tuning in, and hopefully it will be available sometime in the future. And look, there's the tarragon that I planted at the base. And if you look down in the middle, Stuart, if you could go do an overhead, you can see that there's a cardoon that's growing up in the center, and hopefully it will come up and be really tall and statuesque. So that has been one of the more fun things. And then finally, I want to show you, be careful, Stuart. That could have been scary. Okay, let's go this way. I'm moving too fast, Stuart, I'm sorry. But I got your back. I saved you. I wanted to show one more thing. I need to go into my studio that's in the QVC collection. And that's these seed starting caddies. These come in galvanized in black and in copper. And look how sweet they are and how many different ways they can be used. They do have drainage. You can see here I planted, I need to water it. 2 days ago, I planted a Tithonia seed in there, and look, it's already germinated. I just think these are absolutely darling. I think these would be really fun to put in a cactus or something, a succulent in each one, and set them around as a play at each person's place setting. You could use them to hold flatware and napkins and things if you're entertaining. Or, of course, because they've got drainage, you can use them to start your seeds. So that was a fun little tour. I hope you enjoyed it. And like I say, if you have time, please make sure to comment below. I love hearing from you. Look in the community tab for other updates. And if you have time, watch me on QVC on Thursday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you also have time, I would love to hear your sweet voices. Thank you guys for always being so supportive and kind and wonderful. You guys enjoy the rest of your week.